Good morning. We will present our project titled Green Vehicle Management System. In the last few years, different attempts have been made in the transportation industry to combat global warming concerns. Uh, Numerous automobile companies around the globe have been trying different approaches to reduce the CO2 and other greenhouse gas emissions from their vehicles to reduce any hazardous effects to the environment. Greener vehicles, which run on other forms of energy to produce electrical power instead of fuel, have been tried and tested for the last decade. However, these approaches are still relatively new, expensive, and may produce ineffective results as compared to gasoline or diesel. Moreover, the approach is ineffective if the drivers are not informed or have no reason to care. Contributing to the sustainable development goal number 7, which is affordable and clean energy, this proposed system that we're developing uses cleaner, renewable energy alongside the standard fuel to produce a hybrid vehicle. This proposed system is an application that allows drivers to switch between fuel and electric energy to run their vehicles while monitoring and informing the vehicle owners of the CO2 emissions reduced in a day. The reason we propose this system is to reduce consumption of fuel, at the same time reduce CO2 emissions from these fuel-powered vehicles. This is like eliminating two birds with one stone. Another useful thing is that the hybrid vehicles are made to be more available compared to standalone electrical vehicles, because standalone electrical vehicles are usually hard to use. It's inconvenient because there's not so many stations to charge up your vehicles around the world. However, fuel is everywhere. That's why fuel is expensive, because it's being consumed every single day. However, hybrid vehicles introduce the use of both electrical stations and fuel-powered stations. Finally, it requires less manual effort since the system is automated. So that means that the driver does not need to be fully concentrated on using the application or the system that is connected to the electrical motor and the engine. That makes it convenient for them. And at the same time, they're reducing the carbon emissions. So it's good for both. There's no drawbacks.
To demonstrate the proposed system, we created a design prototype to simulate the interactions between a driver and the application within a hybrid car. So to begin this simulation, the driver must first input their plate number. So in this case, we can have this as an example, and we can proceed with this. Once the user decides to log in, he or she is directed into this green car application interface. Basically shows the start stop engine button, which allows the vehicle driver to start the engine and use fuel currently, but then also provides the options to use the electrical battery. Once he presses the start button there, he can use up the electrical battery instead of the fuel. Fuel is not being used in this scenario, and so you can see the percentage of the battery being dropped down based on the distance the driver is driving the vehicle. And once he decides to stop it, and once the engine is also stopped, the emission status is calculated, and the emission status can either be good, excellent, or it can also be bad, depending on how much CO2 emission has been reduced. So if I start the engine once again, the battery percentage still remains. So as the car is running, the battery level can also be recharged by just simply pressing the charge button. If I stop it once again, the charging is now stopped. I can start it all over again and it starts dropping. If I decide to stop it, I'll stop it and the emission status will be calculated. So the management system is not simply for users, but administrators can also use it to identify the vehicle owners, the models of the cars, etc. And they can also investigate the CO2 emission records using the Green Car Records page. In the Green Car Records page, the administrator can check whether how much electrical distance a car has covered in one day, the total distance covered, and then calculate the corresponding CO2 reduction percentage, which will be displayed. This is the back end of how the status is displayed in the main interface, and it will also hold the electrical battery so that the next day the battery can stay constant or the value it was stored last. So this is the Green Car Records page. To enhance the system, we can display visual graphs based on the CO2 reduction percentage on the main interface. The users will be able to see the graphs and then try to reduce the percentage even more as part of saving the environment. And also, we suggest in the future to have incentives also be presented to users or vehicle owners so that they try and protect the environment. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you and have a beautiful day.